Football World Cup 2026 Knockout Round 1 Portugal vs Croatia, the VAR decision that shook the world. On July 2, 2026, under the lights of BMO Field in Toronto, two footballing generations collided in one of the most anticipated matches of the FIFA World Cup knockout stage, Portugal vs Croatia. It was billed as a clash of legends. 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo against 40-year-old Luka Modric, two men who once shared a dressing room at Real Madrid and built golden eras for both club and country. But by the time the final whistle blew, the headlines weren't just about the players on the pitch. They were about a piece of technology hidden inside the match ball itself. A cagey first half. The opening 45 minutes were tense and tactical. Portugal dominated possession early on, with Rafael Leal and Pedro Neto causing problems down the flanks, but Croatia's disciplined backline, marshaled by Josko Gvardiol and Martin Baturina, held firm. Croatia, meanwhile, played patiently through midfield, with Luka Modric dictating tempo as he has done for over a decade on football's biggest stages. Goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic was called into action more than once, denying Bruno Fernandes and Leal with sharp reflex saves. The teams went into the break locked at 0-0. Croatia strikes first. The deadlock was broken 8 minutes into the second half. A cross from the right found its way to Ivan Perisic, who controlled the ball on the edge of the penalty area and calmly slotted it into the bottom corner. Croatia had the lead, and for a team many had written off before the tournament, it looked like a famous underdog result might be within reach. Portugal, though, responded with characteristic ruthlessness. Head coach made a bold quadruple substitution to change the shape and energy of the side, and the move paid off. A VAR review awarded Portugal a penalty after contact in the box, and up stepped Cristiano Ronaldo. He buried it confidently down the middle, his first goal of the knockout stage and a record-extending World Cup goal tally. 1-1. Croatia continued to push. Mateo Kovacic rattled the crossbar with a thunderous strike from range, and Petar Musa had a golden chance saved brilliantly by Diogo Costa. But it was Portugal who struck the next blow. In the 49th minute of the half, a cross from the left was met by substitute Goncalo Ramos, who guided a header into the bottom right corner. 2-1 to Portugal, and with the clock ticking down, it looked like the winning moment of the match. The dramatic finish. Croatia refused to give up. Deep into stoppage time, with Portugal clinging to their one-goal lead, a long ball was launched into the Portugal box. Forward Igor Matanovic rose to meet it, glancing a header on toward Josko Gvardiol, who reacted quickest and forced the ball over the line. BMO Field erupted. Croatian players sprinted toward the corner flag in celebration, believing they had snatched a dramatic, last-gasp equalizer against one of the tournament favorites. Referee Espinescas pointed to the center circle. The goal stood, at least for now. Then came the pause that silenced the stadium. The referee was called to the pitchside monitor for a VAR review, the chip that changed everything. What followed became the single most talked about moment of the tournament so far. Portugal's official match ball for the 2026 World Cup, named the Trianda, contains an embedded motion sensor and inertial measurement unit, or IMU, designed to detect the exact moment and location of contact with the ball. This technology, developed to assist officials in exactly these kinds of split-second offside decisions, had picked up something the television cameras could not. According to the sensor data, in the build-up to Gvardiol's goal, the ball had made the faintest possible contact with Igor Matanovic's head, so slight that even freeze-frame replays struggled to confirm it. But the sensor's waveform readout showed an unmistakable spike at the moment of contact. And crucially, at that exact instant, Matanovic's teammate Mario Pasalic was standing in an offside position. Under the laws of the game, if the ball had last been touched by an offside player's teammate before continuing into a goal-scoring position, the goal could not stand. The referee, backed by the VAR team and the ball's sensor data, ruled that Matanovic's touch was the decisive contact. The goal was disallowed. Croatia's celebration turned instantly to disbelief, and moments later, the final whistle sounded. Portugal had won, 2-1. Even the player wasn't sure. In the aftermath, Matanovic himself gave a remarkably honest account of what had happened. He admitted that even he could not say for certain whether he had touched the ball, telling reporters, "Honestly, I felt a slight touch with my hair." He explained that it was the officials, not his own certainty, that confirmed the contact. The referee told me the chip had registered a reaction. That admission, from the very player at the center of the controversy, only added fuel to the growing debate about how much decision-making authority should be handed to sensors that can detect contact invisible to the human eye, including to the players involved. FIFA's explanation. FIFA moved quickly to address the controversy, releasing an official statement explaining the technology behind the call. According to the governing body, the connected ball technology inside the Trianda uses an IMU sensor capable of detecting even the most minute contact, far beyond what can be seen on a broadcast camera, even in slow motion. That data, FIFA said, is translated into a waveform display, which was shown to television audiences and used by the referee to confirm the offside call with what officials described as a high degree of precision. For FIFA, the moment was presented as a triumph of officiating technology, proof that the tournament's investment in smart ball systems could resolve marginal calls that would otherwise be left to guesswork. For many neutral observers and Croatia supporters, it raised a very different question. The backlash online. Social media reaction to the decision was swift and largely critical. One of the most common arguments circulating widely was a simple observation. If the ball's speed, spin, and trajectory showed no visible change whatsoever, how could officials be certain that meaningful contact had actually occurred? Critics argued that a deflection significant enough to alter an offside decision should, in theory, leave some detectable trace in the ball's physical movement, and many felt that trace simply wasn't there. Others raised concerns about the sensor's reliability more broadly. If the technology is sensitive enough to register a touch as light as a strand of hair brushing the ball, skeptics asked, shouldn't it also be vulnerable to interference from wind, rain, or incidental contact that has nothing to do with deliberate play? The question of where the threshold for meaningful contact should be drawn became a central talking point across football forums, sports broadcasts, and post-match analysis shows. A bittersweet ending for a Croatian legend. For Croatia, the result meant more than just an early exit. It marked the end of the road for a golden generation of players who had reached the World Cup final in 2018 and the semi-final in 2022. At 40 years old, Luka Modric, one of the most decorated midfielders of his generation, walked off the pitch in Toronto for what many assume will be his final World Cup appearance, his dream of one last deep tournament run ending in the cruelest possible fashion. Undone by a touch too small for the human eye to see. Portugal, by contrast, advanced to the round of 16, setting up a heavyweight clash against Spain later in the tournament. The bigger picture. Whatever side of the debate fans fall on, the match raised a genuinely important question for the future of football. As VR technology becomes more precise, is the sport ready for decisions this fine-grained to determine World Cup outcomes? And if sensor data is going to play such a decisive role, how much transparency does FIFA owe the public? Full access to raw sensor readings, clearer real-time graphics, more detailed explanations of the criteria being applied? One thing is certain, the days of too close to call may be numbered. But as this match proved, replacing human uncertainty with machine precision doesn't necessarily end the arguments. Sometimes, it just changes what fans are arguing about.